Hi everyone, and welcome to our session. Today we're giving you an update on the legacy finance system. So thanks for joining. Sorry we're getting a little bit of a late start. Sometimes webinars can be a challenge on the technical front. So we're still working through some stuff, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So my name is Anita Collins, and I'm the Change Management Lead for Connect Carolina. And I have a bunch of people in the room who are going to help me answer questions today, so I'll introduce them in just a few minutes. So this is our user group meeting for finance. So we're doing something a little bit different today. We're only offering this as a webinar. So that's because we thought the topic might be a little bit shorter than our normal length, and we didn't want you to have to walk all the way across campus to come to a meeting that was only half an hour long. So we did book an hour, so if you have lots of questions, we may use up the whole hour, but we're planning for it to last about half an hour with our content. All right, so like I said, our topic is legacy systems. The dates for transitioning our finance legacy systems are rapidly approaching, and so we wanted to make sure that you were up to date with what was happening with each key system, and also give you a chance to ask questions. So I hope you will take this opportunity to any questions that you have. Please type them in your chat window. We would love to answer them. Okay. So if there are questions that we can't answer, we'll post the answers on the Legacy System Transitions page. So I hope you guys have found that already. It's on the ccinfo.unc.edu website. And if you go to the tab at the top that says System Help, right underneath there's a page called Legacy System Transitions. So all the stuff that we're talking about today, most of it is out there on that page already. We've been updating it as we learn more. So visit that page, and again, if there are questions we can't answer, then a few days after the webinar we'll post answers there. So here in the room with me, we have a group of people who are here to help answer questions. So like I said, I'm Anita Collins. Also here today is Dan Check, and he's a reporting lead on our Enterprise Reporting and Departmental Systems team. Also here is Joe Nichols, and many of you guys probably know him. He's been here a while, and he's heads up our finance development team, so they're the ones who make the system changes and create new systems. Also here is Becky Arnold, and I know you guys, most of you know Becky. She heads up the Finance Business Analysis team. Michelle Clayton is en route, I think, so she is going to dial in through chat, but she also knows quite a bit about our legacy systems, and she's an IT manager. Teresa Silsby is here, and I'm sure many of you have spoken to Teresa in person. She heads up our Business Systems Help Desk. Also here is Sally Koch. So Sally heads up the HR and Finance Web Applications team. So if all of us can't answer it, I would be very surprised if there's someone in the room who can't answer a question. But again, if not, we'll post the answers. Like most of our webinars, we are recording this webinar, and we will post it in a couple of days on the user groups page of the CCInfo website. So it takes us a couple of days to process the file and get it ready. So it takes a couple of days, but early next week you should be able to find that the recorded webinar out on the user groups page. All right, so let's get started with the actual content of our session. So the systems we're talking about today are FRS and Legacy Payroll, ePrint, Financier, Finance Central, the Legacy Data Warehouse for Finance, we're focusing on finance today, and Web Focus. Okay, so we're going to start by talking about FRS and Legacy Payroll. So the plan for these systems is to turn them off. We have a new date, and you guys are among the first to hear this new date, so that the plan now is to turn these systems off around December 14th. You'll find the information from these systems is available in Connect Carolina. That is, the 18 months before Go Live was converted into Connect Carolina, so that's there. You can find it on InfoPort reports and in the Finance Legacy Data Warehouse, and we'll talk more about the data warehouse in just a few minutes. When we were actually, over this summer, we reached out to people who were still actively using FRS and Legacy Payroll and to find out what they were going out there for. And we received a great response. So for those of you who participated, we really appreciate it. We got exactly the information that we needed. The people who responded sent us screenshots and notes about what they were still using, and it helped us identify some gaps in information. So nothing enormous, but important gaps, and those are being addressed. So that information that was identified as still being needed and not currently available, and so the team is working hard to make that information available. So a lot of those gaps were mostly information needed by the central offices, but one that you may be aware of is the notes that went with budget transactions. So we're calling it just budget notes. So we are working to make that information available. And I don't know yet exactly how you will get to it or who will have access to it and how that will work, but as soon as we know, we're going to let you know. Okay, so that was our update on FRS and Legacy Payroll. If you have a question, you can go ahead and type it in, and when there's a pause, we'll try to answer some questions, but otherwise, if we don't have a question yet, I'm going to go ahead and go to the next topic. Okay, so we're having a little trouble seeing questions, so I'm going to go ahead and go on to financier, and we'll take a break and check after the financier update. So let's talk a little bit about financier. So the plan for financier is that it is staying, but access needs to be limited to those who have what's called the enhanced reporting access and designated central office users. So some central office users will have financier, and those who have enhanced reporting access. And so what that means, the enhanced reporting access, is basically if you have access to run queries in the reporting copy of Connect Carolina, so not, many finance people have access to run queries right in Connect Carolina, but there's a copy of Connect Carolina that's only used for reporting, and there's some queries available there. And so if you're one of those people, it's about 200 people total have that access. If you're one of those people, you will also have access, you'll be given access to the new version of financier. And the reason we had to do that is because with the, when we shut down the mainframe computer, which is the big computer that used to run all the legacy systems and still does until mid-December, when we lose that computer, we no longer have the ability to control access within financier. So we can't limit access to sensitive information. And so once the team understood that, we realized we had to limit access to that. So so fewer people will have access. It's about 200 people will have access going forward. That tool has been rebuilt, so there's a new version. It looks very, very similar to the old one. It will be available very soon. The current tool is planned to be turned off around December 14th. So again, that's a new date for you guys who dialed in today. You're hearing this first, but that date's been pushed out a couple of weeks as everything gets settled with the new tool. Plus, the team wanted to have some overlap so that the old tool was still around for at least a few weeks while the new tool, and so both the old and the new tool were around for a few weeks so that people could feel comfortable with the transition. Okay, so the reason the date got pushed out was a good one in that we had a testing session last Wednesday where we invited some people who were active users of financier to come in and test it, and they actually compared the old financier to the new one. They had both up and running. They ran some queries in the old one and the new one and compared the results, and it was just a really excellent session. And so thanks to those of you who are online who joined that session. And they found some stuff. They really took that testing seriously and found some stuff that needed to be fixed, and they had some good suggestions for improvements. And so the team has already made most of those suggestions. Some will be added later as enhancements, but they've made the ones that really had to be made. And they need a little extra time to make those changes and do some additional testing. So anyway, that pushed out the date, and we want to give a big thank you to the testers who participated. So that the new version is being retested now, and we're expecting it to go live in a couple weeks. So just FYI, for those of you who didn't participate in the testing but will have access going forward, you will see some small changes. So it's a rebuilt tool. It accesses the same data, but the actual tool itself has changed a little bit. So you'll notice that the search options have changed just a little bit. The column headings have changed just a little bit. We are doing an updated guide for you guys, so that'll be available when the tool goes live. And we asked the testers what they thought, and they said it was a very easy transition, and they figured it out super quick. So anyway, just wanted to kind of let you know what was going on there. I'm collecting those and getting those typed in. Let's go ahead and talk about ePrint. So I'm going to return to our slides and talk about, give you an update on what's going on with ePrint. So ePrint is staying, but access is going to be limited to a pretty small group, and it's all central office administrative users. So it's a very small group for ePrint. That access is going to be limited around November 30th. So not before, but it sometimes takes a few days to get that done. But the reason is that for ePrint, there's not going to be any way at all to limit who sees which reports. So basically, if you have access to ePrint going forward, you'll see everything that's out there, including detailed payroll information. So as you guys know, that's sensitive information, and we have to be very careful about who can see that. So access to ePrint had to really be limited. But we know that ePrint reports are important to you, so we came up with a process for getting those reports. So the details, again, are still being nailed down, but you will request those reports through the help desk, and there will be an approval process to make sure that people are requesting reports they really should have access to. We'll give you details about how that will work, but it will be through the help desk. We did do a quick survey of ePrint users a few months ago, which was great. So again, we got a really good response. We got almost 300 people who gave us some input, and that helped us understand that you guys are still, many of you are still going out to ePrint and using the reports out there fairly regularly. So anyway, thank you again for participating in that, and just wanted to let you know that that happened. For those who will have access to the new tool, and again, it's a small group, they have access to that new tool now. It's up and running, and so that's going smoothly. So, okay, so let's go ahead and talk about Finance Central. Do we have any? No questions yet. Okay, so let's talk about Finance Central. So for those of you who've been out there, I know you've probably noticed that most of the links were removed a couple of weeks ago, so that actually happened on schedule. There are 3 links that remain. The links are ePrint, the UNC account request, and financier are still out there as we're kind of resolving what needs to be done around those systems. So you'll still find those links out there on Finance Central, but the others have been removed. And I did want to just make sure that you're clear on kind of where to go if you need information that you used to access through those old links. So if you need information from the old web vendor or old web travel, now those applications have moved into Connect Carolina. So there's still, web vendor is gone, but the information has moved into Connect Carolina. Web travel is still available through Connect Carolina. But if you need access to old information that it has not moved into Connect Carolina from those applications, then you can contact the help desk. The developers asked me to kind of mention that it's not an instant thing to get that information. It is, they have to actually do some development work to pull it out there, but if you really do need it, then please do contact the help desk if you have a need for some old information from those 2 applications. Also, information from the online journal entry system is in InfoPort. Same thing with the online check request system. The one thing is for the online check request system, if you're looking for an attachment that was attached to an old online check request, then you'll need to contact the central offices to get the attachments. The Finance Data Warehouse, again, that link is gone from Finance Central, but it is available through InfoPort. So it's basically a link to the old Finance Data Warehouse that's now built into InfoPort. And again, we're going to talk about that more in just a few minutes. The old e-commerce sites are now available through the ePro Vendor Catalogs page in Connect Carolina. So if you shop the vendor catalogs, you'll also see links for the e-commerce sites there. The UAS reports are available through UAS itself. And then if you're still going out to the old ePro, the 8.9, the one that got rolled out before we went live with Connect Carolina, the link is gone from Finance Central, but you can still get to it by going to the epro.unc.edu website. So you can type in that link to the browser, in your browser, and it will take you to the old version of ePro, so you can look up old purchases. All right. No questions yet? No questions yet. Okay. So let's talk about the Finance Legacy Data Warehouse. And this has been a really hot topic for the team last few weeks. So we've had lots and lots of meetings and discussions trying to understand and be clear on it, what to tell you guys. So I apologize for we've kind of been changing our tune here as we dig in deeper about to understand exactly how this is working. So the Finance Legacy Data Warehouse is staying, so it's not going away or anything. We know you guys need that information, but this Legacy Data Warehouse uses the old security system, so which is, as you guys know, is going away when the mainframe computer goes away. So that's currently targeted for around middle of December. And so there's been a lot of discussion about how to manage that access. And so I don't have a definitive answer for you today. I just want to kind of let you know that we're actively discussing that, and we think we have a solution, but we need to kind of vet it and let everybody know and make sure we're clear on that before we give you another message. So the Legacy Data Warehouse is staying, but there's going to be look for some word in the next week or so about who will have access and how you'll get to it, and we'll be more clear. So if you are using it currently or have access to it, it is available through InfoPort. So you can ask your InfoPort administrator to give you access if you don't see it. No new users can be added currently. So currently we don't have a way to add. If you don't have access now, we can't add you right now. Again, the team is discussing this and the best way to handle this. Also, the Legacy Data Warehouse only has the old 4-digit department numbers, so you can't see information currently based on your Connect Carolina department. So just want to kind of throw that out there. But if you did used to use the data warehouse and you don't see it in InfoPort, you can check to see where it is by checking for whether you have the Legacy Accounts button. So in the row of buttons in the top right-hand corner, you'll see Legacy Accounts. And when you click on that, you'll see a tab called Legacy Warehouse. So when you get a chance, take a look and see if you see those buttons. If you don't see them, your InfoPort administrator can add those and for you. So we put instructions on the CC Info website. So again, we clarified those. We also had some confusion around that. So those are now solid. They've been tested, and we've gotten feedback that they do work. So if you need to see the Legacy Data Warehouse tab in InfoPort, those instructions are on the CC Info website. And you can go to that Legacy Systems Transition page that I mentioned earlier, and you'll find the link there where it talks about the Legacy Data Warehouse. So again, your InfoPort administrator can give you that access. Now, the InfoPort administrator can give you access to the tabs in InfoPort, but if you don't have access to the data warehouse already, just again, I just want to make sure that you're clear that we can't give you access to the data warehouse. You'll be able to see the tabs, but you won't see anything on the tabs if you don't have access to the data warehouse already. Okay, so I know that's a little bit confusing, so if you have a question about that, please do submit it through the chat window. Okay. All right, so let's talk about Web Focus. So Web Focus, as you guys know, is I'm sure a widely used reporting tool on campus. And the mainframe computer, again, is going away in the middle of December. So any Web Focus reports that pull information from the mainframe computer will no longer, they won't work anymore after that date. So just want to make sure everybody's clear on that. If you are using a Web Focus report that pulls information from other sources, and Web Focus reports can pull from lots of places, so it's not just the mainframe computer. So those can be used longer. So there's no plan to turn those off currently yet, and we don't have a date or anything. So those are going to stay for a while longer. We did also reach out to our Web Focus users, so we sent a communication to, I think it was about 2,000 people, and asked kind of, what they were using, which reports did touch the mainframe computer, and we got a really, really good response. That we did learn that our financial reporting group, the accounting services, still needs access to these legacy reports at least into mid-December, and so again that pushed out our date for our Web Focus reports. So originally I think it was in October, but now we're looking at the Web Focus reports that use the mainframe computer will stop working, around December 14th, after December 14th. So anyway, I wanted to make sure you guys were clear on that. Okay, so again, as I mentioned earlier, all this information that we've talked about is on the Legacy System Transitions page on CC Info. So we do update that page as we learn more information. We update it. In fact, there were some updates this morning. What we've talked about just now is the latest as we know it, but we're updating it every 2 days with a little bit more information or our changes. So please do take a look at that page. And I hope that you will submit some questions. So we got a team of people here who are ready to answer your questions. So please do go ahead and submit your questions into the chat window.
Okay, we have a question now. If there is a need for an ePrint report, how will we request it?
So good question. So that if you need an ePrint report after you lose access, you'll put in a help ticket, and there will be an approval process that goes with that. So we'll be sending instructions around that as soon as that's nailed down. We think we have the process figured out, but we just want to resolve the last couple of questions around that. So you will put in a help ticket. The report will be emailed to you. It's looking right now it will be emailed to you with it'll be password protected, and there's some security measures since there can be sensitive information in those reports. So that's one of the things that's kind of holding up, letting you guys know what the process is, because I have to be super careful with those reports because of the sensitive information. So it'll be password protected. We know that much. There will be an approval process, and it will be done through the putting in a help ticket.
And we have an expected turnaround time of 48 hours on the report request at minimum. So we'll be having a meeting with the help desk this afternoon to review the process, and we'll make sure that it's communicated through the website and communications of what the exact process will be.
Okay, Michael, thanks for the ticket number. That will really help us to follow up on your previous question about your requested reports. Here's another question. Will there ever be a way to view archived documents, old POs?
Not really.
Hey, we're pulling Joe Nichols over, who's the finance development lead.
We have the data, but at this time there is no plans to develop a tool that would have a method for being able to present them to a user. So if people have requests on data, we can satisfy those requests, but probably more like in an Excel sort of format is the way we would give you the data.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Any other questions? Type them into the chat window and we'll be happy to ask. Okay, here comes another question. If we could see all info in financier for our department, will this be limited in the future? Why? What is considered sensitive now that was not considered sensitive previously?
So Becky Arnold's going to answer the question for us.
So there's information that is very specific, especially depending on how far back you go, whereas you could track a certain transaction code for payroll. And so it's not that it's any more secure than it was. We just had a level of value-based security that tied you to being able to see the information for your department.
So going forward, I believe
Right.
Anyone who has access will be able to see information for all departments.
Right.
Because the tool that used to control that access is an old tool that is going away when the mainframe computer goes away.
Okay, any other questions? Go ahead and type into the chat window. Okay, here's another question. We used to get an O2 report which showed everything deducted from our EPA staff monthly. This was what I used for backup to reimburse our directors for their insurance premiums. This was in their contract that we pay this. What is the best way to get this info now? So we're
okay. I think we're going to have to research that. Yeah.
So if you don't have access to that report, I would suggest the best way would be to put in a new report request and help us understand the exact requirements, and then we can get that prioritized and figure out the best way to deliver it. There's information on how to do that on the CC Info website under the reporting link, and there's a little form that you can attach and submit, and it actually gives you a spot where you can attach an old report that you're looking for along with new requirements.
Please make sure if you are attaching an old report that any SSNs are redacted.
Or any other sensitive info?
Yes.
Yes. All right, any other questions? Go ahead and type them into the chat window. We've got a few minutes left, and we'd be happy to answer or take down, if we can't answer, any questions that you have. Go ahead and use the chat window to type in your questions. And while we wait for any additional questions, as Anita indicated, there's lots of great info on the CC Info website. You'll be able to see the recording of this. We'll have it posted next week. You'll also be able to, as Becky said, see the process for submitting report requests. There's lots of great resources out there under the training tab. And of course the training calendar is there as well. So lots of good info on CC Info. And any other questions, any additional questions that you have?
I also, this is Anita again, I just also want to put out a request for you guys while you're here to submit topics for user group meetings that you would like to see. So we are shifting to an every other month schedule for the user group meetings, but we'd really like to have the topics that you guys are interested in. So if you have any thoughts on that, please email me. You can email me at anita_collins@unc.edu. I'd love to hear your suggestions. I'm sure Deborah would take them as well, and any of us here. But if you're thinking that you'd like to learn more about a particular topic, or you know, talk to certain people that we could bring in front of you guys, we would love to hear any and all suggestions that you have for user group topics. Okay, so I think we're out of questions. Sounds like you guys are done asking questions, but reach out to us if there's something that you think of later. We would love to hear from you. You can send them to me. As always, you can call the help desk, and we would love to hear from you. So thanks so much for joining us today. As Deborah mentioned, this webinar was recorded and will be available in a couple of days on CC Info. So, and be sure to keep an eye on the Legacy Systems page on CC Info in particular. Okay, thanks everyone. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and talk to you in a month or two.